We wanted to just take people through on a journey back to these times as we celebrate our 14th year. Sarah, think about one of the fondest memories, or maybe one of the earliest memories you have of those days. What's something that comes to your mind?
Well, I remember the very first time we were in here, so that's my earliest memory. But I remember sitting out in the lobby and having all the kids out there and just trying to keep them corralled and teach them about Jesus, and we had all different ages. Always have had a lot of kids at Deep Creek. So that's probably my earliest. And then having Millie Santiago come and sit with me, because she came and she would sit out in the foyer with me. The lobby, whatever that is.
Yeah, because in the early days, we had no classrooms.
No.
We had just this auditorium.
Yeah.
No classrooms at all. So we did children's church in the lobby where people were coming through. We would dismiss the kids, I think, after worship.
Yeah, because I helped lead worship and then would go do childcare. So,
all right. So Sandy, how about you? You're here from the beginning. What's one of those first early memories you have of the
Well, I think
church?
that we talk about it a lot, about the whole loading thing for the years that we were portable. But here it was before the days of trailers, and we had 2 pickup trucks that everything was in, and you just prayed that it wasn't going to rain and you get everything here safely. And then we'd have a flatbed cart and we'd roll everything in as we're moving benches around, and you'd unload it and you take the cart back and you get some more stuff and kind of set up. But part of that was too the band just kind of working together, practicing together, setting everything up together, and then practicing. That was just a really cool time.
Yeah, because we had no place to practice.
No, it was usually my house.
Your house or my house. What about one of your sort of fondest memories of the time too?
I got 2 really quick. One was when Kurt came and joined us. The Bennett family kind of jumped in, and we went from having the program drums on the keyboard to having a live drummer, and what a difference that made.
Yeah.
And I know another one too is Mike Fowler, and we've been celebrating Mike's life recently and some memories, but his ownership of the cafe and just making sure that everything was right and fresh, and then his production in the whether it's running sound or Pro Presenter or whatever it was, just kind of that whole cafe with the tables back there that you could sit and watch service back there if you wanted to, or you could come and participate.
And that was kind of cutting edge. Remember, we had people they're like, oh, they can't sit in the cafe. Yeah. But it really kind of established our DNA early that we were a church. Let people be real. If they want to sit back in the cafe, that's cool. Let's talk about some of the life change, because really this is why Deep Creek Community Church exists. What is maybe a story of life change in those early days that you saw that you say, man, that's really cool as I think back to those small church days? What about it, baby? Anybody come to mind?
Well, the major one for me is Camille's family, Camille Giuliano, who's been with us since basically the beginning. And none of her family came at first. She came with a couple of friends. I think Diane Lanavera had invited her. And the first or second, I think it was our first volunteer banquet we did. We asked people to invite their spouses if they weren't a part of our team. And so John came to our volunteer banquet, and from that point on, he came. He's always been a part and
been a great part.
Yes, and the Lord has really done a work in his life, and
now he's one of our table leaders at our one-on-ones, which is very cool.
At our connections, and their whole family comes, and a lot of them have volunteered or do volunteer and been an integral part.
Right.
So that probably is one of the major ones.
But I think about Lee Browning a lot. I love Lee. He's a great friend. I remember as he came and just sit there, real quiet guy, young guy. But it's amazing to think of the journey. And, we made a testimony video, and you guys can go on YouTube and check that out. But to think about the fact that Lee Browning is now leading in Ironman, and he's also helping with this new ministry we just launched for fishing, which is appropriate because he is a master fisherman. Yeah. But just to know his heart for people and how God has grown him up as a man, a father, a husband, and I have one more story that comes to my mind. They've moved since to the North Georgia area, but very early was Todd and Josie. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about their growth, I remember Josie saying to me when they moved away, don't ever stop explaining that you can be who you are
Right.
when you come to church. And we weren't real set on what we did, but I remember that having an impact on me, that people want to come and be themselves. They don't want to feel forced into a religious mold. And when we would say to people, be yourself, you don't have to be a Christian per se to hear about Christ, the impact that made on their life and her life personally, and the friendship she developed before they moved, man, it was such a really cool thing. You know, as we kind of wrap it up today, you know, it was not easy those days. I think about Sandy as we were kind of conversing via text. You know, 2004, we had a hurricane that hit here. We lost this auditorium.
The roof was not
The roof,
non-existent
this
right
whole
here.
roof fell down, and so we had to meet first at someone's home.
Yeah.
We were up to about 50 people with
Yeah.
kids then. Huge church.
Yeah, especially for a home.
Yeah, and then it was hard for a home, and both you and I almost took jobs
Yeah.
elsewhere in 2004, but we got through that challenge of feeling worn out, this is not going to work, and really in 2005, we hung in there and said, God, you know, if this is yours, you can do something with it. We began to see
yeah.
something different was happening, taking off.
You know, I think for years too, the portability of stuff just kind of wore on people too, and
Yeah.
it's kind of the same people doing the same thing routine over and over. And I know that we experienced a little bit of burnout with volunteers and kind of keeping everybody together, and that was a challenge.
It was.
I just think of all of it. I'm reminded of the scripture, 2 Corinthians 4:7, where it says basically that we have these treasures in jars of clay so that God's all-surpassing greatness, His power, is seen, and it's not us. And I just think that has to be it, because there's no way we broke every rule, we did everything wrong, and yet God has blessed the work because we're doing it for Him. But I was so intricately involved with the kids, so I remember when Rosie came on, I remember when Pat came and she was really creative, and so she started helping with props and
Right.
making the Rev kids a lot cooler and just you know, more appropriate for them. So the Lord has always been so
Yeah.
faithful. When whoever was about to just tap out, He was faithful to bring in that next person that took it to the next level.
Right.
And so I'm just so thankful for that.
But I can truly say, and I think we'll all agree, man, the challenges were great in those early days. We did a lot of things wrong, but God is bigger than all of those challenges, and I will forever be grateful to God for what He's done.